Somebody must have told this car that I was going to sell it for a Fox body because the 4L60 decided to leave. We completely lost third and fourth gear as of the end of last video. So as of now, I am currently limping it back to the garage, and we are going to pull the transmission out to give it to the transmission guy, and he is going to install a shift kit, some HD clutches, a newer servo, and a couple other goodies to make this thing shift properly. And then we're going to throw a 3200 stall in it so that it actually does what it's supposed to do. I'm going to do all the basic maintenance to the car while we're here because at this point I'm too deep not to do the basics. Let's get this thing up on the lift so I can pull the transmission out, because this is what we currently have. I'm probably not going to film the whole situation of taking it out, putting it back in, and all the maintenance as well, just because this video will get really long. This video is going to get really long really quick. I'm actually about to get passed by a Camry. I'm going as fast as I possibly can, and I'm still only doing 36 and a 40. Oh my God, I'm sure the LS doesn't like this. Just setting at 4,000 RPMs. At 30 miles an hour. I feel like I'm flying though. I'm sure it doesn't like this. We're currently just sitting at 4,000 RPMs. I can't really do anything about that though, because we have to climb that mountain to get up to the garage. And it just sucks for this car. It's not gonna like it. So this is what we're looking at. And this is our culprit right here. We're going to unbolt it and take everything else out that's restricting us from unbolting it, such as the cross member, the drive shaft, torque arm that goes all the way back from the transmission here. So we're going to have to take that off. What's crazy is this thing didn't even have any leaks. Like, other than this, I don't have an excuse to be doing any upgrades. Alrighty, y'all, so to the tripod, here's me taking out the torque arm of the car. I just hit you guys with a time lapse because I didn't have anybody else to record me. After I took out the torque arm, I then took out the drive shaft. Like I said, I also popped that cross member out of there. After I got the cross member out of the way, the only thing really holding it in was the bell housing bolts. You can see here I took out the starter. That way I could get to the flex plate bolts. That way I could disconnect it from the torque converter. Once it was disconnected from the torque converter, it was pretty much easy all the way out. The transmission actually in this car was easier to take out than it was to do an AC compressor. We're going to be replacing that oil pressure sensor, and I'm also going to clean up that ground in the back of the head. You can see here that the flex plate is actually cracked as well, so I'm going to be getting an SFI flex plate. Alrighty, y'all, little intermission here. I actually just finished putting that back together, so now we're going to get to work on some maintenance items for the Camaro. I figured we're upgrading the transmission, we're upgrading the stall converter, we're upgrading a couple other things while we're there, so we might as well do every bit of maintenance item so that I can abuse this car and not feel bad about it. Right here we have the SFI flex plate so that this one doesn't crack like the original one did. ARP hardware for said flex plate. A new oil pressure sending unit because it was a little spiky on the gauge, and it's also just barely starting to seep, and it's going to be a lot easier to do it right now. New AC Delco plugs with OEM wires. They lasted 100,000 miles the first time. They'll do the same thing the second time. New hood struts so that the hood stops falling on my head. A new rear main seal. It was leaking. I thought that it was the oil pan gasket. Luckily, it wasn't. We also have a Hawks performance lid. Should pick up about 10 horsepower. It doesn't have the baffles, and it's going to clean up the underhood look pretty nicely. And we have a transmission cooler for the car also, because with that high of a stall, we went with a 3200. It's likely going to create a lot more heat than the factory one did, and we want to keep this fresh 4L60 nice and cool. I also picked up coolant, rear gear oil, fresh transmission fluid, and a couple other things so that I can just get them out of the way while we're doing this. And that way, when this thing goes back together, I should have zero more problems. I'm probably going to keep it pretty short here, and then we'll jump to the cool stuff, like putting the transmission in the stall back in, getting it tuned, putting the lid on, and really making this thing move. So first is the hood struts. Now we have some plugs and wires. All the wires are going to break when I pull them out. And I know it, because they are original. and everything is in your way in the Camaros. It's not in the GMT 800 pickups, but it is here. All right, all 4 of the driver's side are off. That side's the side that's gonna suck, of course, because we have heater stuff and AC stuff. So we've got all the driver's side plugs out now. This is the factory iridium plug, and this is the double platinum plug that I'm replacing it with. I meant to order the iridiums, but I guess they're actually double platinum, and that's the reason for the better price tag. But we're still going to use them, and we'll also use the new wires that came with them. I do also use a little bit of never sees on the new plugs when I do plugs on these. The guys online say when you do this to use a mirror glass, because they suck so much to find. All the plugs are in on this side. We're going to put the wires in. If you guys are doing the same thing, the only tools I used on the driver's side were a 5/8 standard spark plug socket, 3-inch extension that I call my 6-inch extension, talking to your mom here, and a flex head ratchet. Let's put these quite limp spark plug boots on, and we'll move on to the other side. I'm not going to record the other side because you guys just watch me do this. Now, if you have dielectric grease, this is when you want to use your dielectric grease. Not the correct length spark plug wires. It said 2002 Camaro Iridium spark plugs, and then they come in, and they're double platinum spark plugs. And not only are they double platinum spark plugs, but these spark plug wires are about 3 inches too long. Tell me how that jams. It doesn't jam. Beautiful. Now we put our coolant temp sensor wire back on, which is so graciously wired in right next to the spark plugs. Let's see if we can get it in. Now we're going to get it up in the air and install the new flex plate because the old one was cracked, and a new rear main seal, and a couple other goodies.
I said hi, hiya, hiya, hiya. Okay. She's being a little cranky. Speaking of crank. Oh.
I'm currently cleaning up all the gasket mating surfaces here while Mitch is working on getting the old rear main seal out. We also have a rear plate gasket that we're going to be putting on too because it's worthy of just doing both. The old one is out now. We're going to tap the new one in, get it seated flush. That's the old piece of junk. Pretty much what we did is we took the old seal over the new seal, put it on like so, tapped it all the way around nice and gently, and then I rotated this because this isn't really perfectly round after we pried at it, and I tapped it one more time. Now it's properly seated, and we're going to use just a little bit of oil on this new gasket here, and then maybe a little RTV in this corner, depending on how I feel about how it looks.
Okay.
To be extremely clear, we're not actually tightening these. We're just making them lined up with the impact. So these are all 18 foot-pounds. We're going to do a pass at 10 and a pass at 18 just because I'm weird like that. And then these are 106 inch-pounds, which converts to 8.83. I'm going to set it to 5, and then I'll set it to like 9 or 8.5, and then go a little further.
It clicked. Nice and
Just
easy.
8.5, so it's technically still under. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Currently, we're just cleaning up this ground here. It probably would never give me any problems because it looks pretty good. But while we're here and it's easy, I'm just going to clean it up with some sandpaper and put the bolt back in. So just like the back 2 plugs that I refused to film on the right side because they were an absolute pain, this is also a huge pain. And I'll show you guys what we're working with. So this is the under hood of the Camaro. And this is what we've snaked up. If you guys can see, that's a 3/8 socket. We're trying to get that oil pressure sensor out. I will show you guys also what this looks like from Mitch's perspective.
Here is the oil pressure sensor. Socket is on the oil pressure sensor. Off of that, we have a 3/8 swivel and then probably a 3-inch extension going up into the hole where you saw up on Jake's side. Anybody that wants to do this, I recommend don't. Just don't deal with it.
The new oil pressure sensor's in. After
the second new oil pressure sensor's in.
Have you ever guys heard of the inappropriate video called One Man, One Jar or Two Girls, One Cup? This is 2 men, 2 oil pressure sensors. And let me tell you, the oil pressure sensor does. We're currently playing with the fresh B&M flex plate. We're going to put it on here. And this is supposed to be better than the stock one. So it should go on just like so. We'll put the bolts in, and then they have a separate torque spec as to what they believe is right versus what the factory believes is right.
Slight mishap here, everybody. I'm supposed to put Loctite on these bolts. And I just looked at the little piece of paper that comes with the ARP hardware, and he read that you need to use red Loctite on these. And instead of putting the thread lubricant on the whole entire bolt and the threads, you got to put it on the very end of the bolt. And I slobbered these things. Phew. Okay, we're at 21. And bam. And bam. And bam. And bam. And bam. And bam. Now, 85. Ow.
I will see you guys at some point in the next few days when I get my transmission back from the shop. We'll bolt the starter up, make sure the oil pressure sending unit doesn't leak, and we'll put the transmission back in, put the new Hawks performance lid on, and then we'll be ready to have some fun with this thing, other than a tune, but I'll take care of that behind the scenes. Another day, another dollar, or however they say, but for me, it typically ends up with spending more dollars than I'm earning. We do have the 4L60 back, but I don't have anybody to help me get it up on the transmission jack currently. So instead, what we're doing tonight, before I install it tomorrow when I have somebody, is we are ditching these factory transmission inlets to the radiator in place of this beautiful 8-pass unit from Amazon for about 50 bucks. This should help to keep the 4L60 temperatures down now that we are running the 3200 stall. And we're also going to ditch this junk for the Hawks performance lid that I bought for about 100 bucks. It came with all the goodies here. And we are going to disassemble, which is pretty much just going to be pulling these pins. I just cleaned this out with the air hose. All right, update. I think I got it to hold a little bit better. The fitment still is not great on this product. I'd honestly recommend just getting an SLP lid instead of the Hawks lid. I did want to buy something new, but unfortunately, even buying new, the fitment isn't quite right. Let's move on to the transmission cooler. Pretty much what you're going to see is I'm going to take this top line off of the radiator. Then I'll put it up on the lift, take the bottom line off the radiator. Then we'll snake some hoses through, same as I did on the 96 Camaro series. It's just a 1/2 inch. Take this off. It drips a little transmission fluid all over the floor if the transmission's in the car, but it's not in the car. And what I like to do, I slide this fitting back when I put a transmission cooler on. I clean up the line a little bit, and I double clamp it. The reason why I do that is just in case somebody wants to decide to run it in a series later with the factory radiator cooler, or somebody wants to just put the factory radiator cooler back in for originality's sake, or for whatever stupid reason somebody would ever want to do that. The fitting's still here. Another voiceover for you guys. So what I do here is I put the transmission cooler in front of the condenser or radiator, whatever's in front in this case. I then run the 2 lines across the radiator shrouds, the little plastic ones. Typically, I'll cut a hole in them with my Dremel. They're really not bad to get through. You can see I snaked the hose through. I then press the new soft line onto the old hard line, probably about 2 or 3 inches or so. I'll put a double clamp on there. It's ugly. It's not perfect. It's probably not right, but it's worked for me in at least 5 different 4L60 vehicles. I do another double clamp on the line, and then as you can see, there's a couple zip tie looking things. That's what secures it. They just get pushed through one side of the radiator, flipped around to the other, and then they lock in place. Alrighty, y'all, I just picked up 12 quarts of world's finest AC Delco Deck 6 for my transmission, as the tranny shop recommended, and we are going to go put this thing in. I do have help. My dad's going to be helping me put this thing in today, but that also means I do not have a cameraman, so you guys are going to, at best, see some tripod stuff, and I'm probably going to try to put it together as quick as possible anyways. That way I can get this thing out of here and start driving it and get it tuned. So you guys will see me probably on the flip side of this, but I'll keep you in the loop as we go. Back in the garage now, and you can see the transmission's already in. Honestly, installation was a complete breeze on this. I do not know why it went together so easily. It was completely flawless, from the bolts to everything lining up perfectly to the torque spec. I didn't even have to shim the torque converter. Everything just went in perfectly and went back together without a problem. This whole process maybe took an hour to an hour and a half from start to finish. Actually ended up putting a new AC compressor and dryer in it, as well as did the fluid flushes that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. And I did an oil change and new filter because I wanted to get rid of that Fram filter. And we now have a car with all fresh fluids and functional air conditioning. I just put 4 quarts in. I'm going to start it for 3 seconds, shut it off, put another 4 in, let it run for a couple minutes, and then add as necessary until it's full. Now working with 11 quarts in there. I'm going to check it again after it runs for a couple more minutes because it's going to have to pump all that fluid through the new auxiliary cooler that we put in, as well as through the transmission and the converter. So all right, it ended up taking about 11 and a half quarts. I am currently kind of nasty, so I'm going to go wash my hands. We'll take a very slow drive in the car to put it through the gears. First test drive, there's no second gear. Now, I don't know much about transmissions, but I know one thing is that if you don't have second in a 4L60, you should not have fourth, which leads me to believe it's a solenoid. So I reached out to the transmission shop that did it for me, and it looks like they're going to be replacing a solenoid for me. I'll see you guys once that's done. Guess who's got his CAMARO back? It turned out it was actually an O-ring that was stopping it from building pressure to be able to shift to second gear. So it's back, it's fully functional, and I do truly believe what people say about the 3200 stall making that much of a difference in the quarter. If I could hook up, I would actually believe that I could drop a half a second. I have some burner tires in the back, and I'm gonna go show you guys what type of smoke show this thing makes, because it's pretty impressive. I really didn't want to burn the tires on the Corvette wheels, but just real quick, because I'm very impulsive, I will not touch the brake. Shift second without a problem. And not only that, but it gets up and goes in second much better because it stalls at 3,200 RPM. Now, that doesn't make it as cool as if it was a manual, but that's okay because we're gonna go burn the tires off it, like right now. The Lion does not worry about cross-threading, because the Lion knows that it would not dare cross-thread on burnout day. If this doesn't tell you I've been burning these tires off ever since I got it back, I don't know what will. So with the 3200 stall, I don't even have to brake boost it to get it to burn the tires. Now we do have burners on, but I should mention that they are not dry rotted and they're running at 30 PSI. I didn't crank up the pressure whatsoever. All I'm gonna do is step on this thing and we'll see what it can do. If that doesn't impress you with a bone stock motor on warm pavement on a summer day, I don't know what will. I'm pretty impressed because the car doesn't have anything else performance-wise done to it. No cam, no heads, nothing. And I can just hammer on this thing, and I love it. Cameraman, would you like to be my guidance for my donuts? Oh, you said yes. Well, it looks like that's going to be all for the burnouts. I don't know where all my tire could have went. I do not know why there's all these new black chunks in the road. It's okay. I need a haircut too. 3 things. First thing, I hope you guys did like this video. Second thing, the 3200 stall did make a huge difference, as well as the shift kit and the other little maintenance items that I did. We probably picked up a few horsepower overall, especially with that lid, and I'm pretty impressed with it. My personal guess for when I bring this thing to the track next week is probably like a 13.2. I never brought it to the track. We will find out, and I'll show you guys that in the next video. I was gonna do it now and put it in this video, but the problem is they only run test and tune on Wednesdays. And that would mean I delay this video another week. And I didn't want to delay it any further because I already skipped last week for July 4th upload. Third and final thing, go do burnouts and do them safely. Actually, I probably shouldn't say that. For legal reasons, don't take me seriously. If you were to go do some burnouts, get a bucket hat, find a nice location in Mexico, and paint the road black as it should be, because for some reason the black top turns gray over time, and I believe that this is my civil duty to do so. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.